1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to You Be the Judge. Bridges presents You Be the Judge. I'm Dr. Paul Dyer. My other co-hosts, my lovely two co-hosts, is Marylin Pierre, who's running for a circuit court judge in Montgomery County here in Maryland, and Judge Claudia Barber. She will be with us sooner than later. We like to do this every week at 6 p.m., every Wednesday at 6 p.m. You Be the Judge. We've been doing this for, God, Marylin, are we 2 years in? Are we?
We started in late November, early December, so we're not quite 2 years in yet. But we're about to celebrate it soon enough.
This November must be our 2-year anniversary, which is quite fascinating. I've done lots of shows, many shows throughout the week, but this is probably one of my favorites because I'm actually with co-hosts I love and I just cherish the mindset. But here is ultimately, I want you guys to think.
We won't tell the other ones.
I want you to think that we come with information, understanding, and action. We like to talk about things so you can have a view on things. So this way you can have an understanding of things. This way, hopefully, it can put you into an action. I think many times people hear things, think things, and don't truly understand them because they don't have an opportunity to ask the questions. I hope here you can ask the questions, whether it be now, inboxes later. You can always catch us on all the wherever you get all your podcasts, Apple, iHeart, wherever you get all your podcast channels, just put in Bridges Live, You Be the Judge, and we pop right up. Hey, Judge Claudia Barber, welcome. This is early voting week here in the country. So I know here in Maryland, it starts tomorrow, Thursday. And we have said this before on many of our other shows. I think this is the Reconstruction voting period of our time. If you don't understand what that means, is that even after the Civil War, there was Reconstruction. This is our Reconstruction period. It has nothing to do, have we gone through a Civil War? Actually, I think we're in one. And I think this is a period of time that we are time to express ourselves legitimately with a voting process. If you don't vote, you're not part of the process. So, Marylin Pierre, running for circuit court judge, Montgomery County. How have your week been? I know you've been running your little feet off because, what was it? Monday, 4th of July, we were at a parade. I was at a parade with Marylin. And just being the security-minded person I am, I got to look out how she gets lost in the crowd because if most people don't know, by viewing her on Zoom, if you have never seen her in person, she's literally yay high. If you ever think of what yay high means, she's yay high. I'm that high, she's yay high. And she gets lost.
It is funny to see the two of us together because on Zoom, we're the same size.
Right. But in person, she's yay high.
But in person, it's like, okay, I have to make sure that it's not raining when I look up at Paul, because if it's raining, I will literally drown. It was like,
but she's running and we're handing out her cards and the parade is moving not fast, but
my God, the music. Ooh.
But she got caught up and I'm like, where is Marylin? I'm like panicking. I'm thinking someone's taking her so she can't win her judge seat. So she's literally like 50 yards behind the rest of us. I'm like, Marylin, come on, let's go. And she just moves her little there. It's awesome. So thanks, Marylin, for inviting me to your parade.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for bringing the family, including Addie. Oh my gosh. I would say Addie is a she, but I am sorry. He is such a wonderful, wonderful service animal. And I mean, he's so well trained. So yes, we had at the parade, I think we were the only one who had a service animal / pet.
Yep.
And we were the only one who had people a person with mobility issues. So we were, very diverse and very inclusive.
Very eclectic. It was awesome. And then
We're very proud of that.
Addie had his little vote for Marylin sign around his neck.
Thanks to Teresa, because she's like, hey, do you think Addie would like to have something on his neck that says that? And Addie was like, Yeah, we think so. We read his mind. That's what he was thinking.
Judge Claudia Barber, how was your week?
Very good. And I am just so proud of Marylin Pierre for going out and deciding to run for office. It takes a lot of initiative, but more than that. I mean, I'm underestimating when I use the word initiative, I can come up with a better word. But it takes a lot out of people to run for office. They put themselves out there. They become public figures many times. And sometimes the office it may not have a lot of income. Well, judges are okay, but local council people, they don't make a whole lot of money, and they're running for office. Even delegates and senators, state senators, and state delegates, they roughly make around $50,000. And older people on the city council in Annapolis, 15,000.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
and so, so these are not, so you can imagine people running for office. You have to have motivation and you have to have purpose. So I applaud you to the utmost, Marylin Pierre, and Dr. Dyer. I received so many invitations to participate in July 4 parades. I couldn't even honor them all, but because I was out of town at the time. But it takes that type of energy. But in addition to that, it's great to have the dog, the people in that parade with you to let people know you're not walking by yourself.
No.
And so that was key. Dr. Dyer, thank you.
So
Thank
one of the things that, because we're so transparent here, and Miss Davis, Val, sorry, Sister Val, we'll get right there. I want to be very transparent with this one. I'm concerned for Marylin. And I tell you, because the status doesn't want her to win.
The status quo, the establishment
doesn't want her to win.
Uh-huh.
And I'm always thinking, where is she? How is she? And is she going to be harmed?
Well, I ran into those same issues because the establishment definitely did not want me to win back in 2016. True. They did everything they possibly could to annihilate me. They tried to financially bankrupt me, file a whole bunch of mess against me that didn't succeed. And so, they were very careful, very calculated, but their motives were clear. They wanted to throw me off on a cliff. They wanted me to be in financial ruin. And that's part of the game. That's part of this process where, you go up against the establishment, and the other people, know you may not be financially equipped to mow them down, but they know they're financially equipped to mow you down.
Mm-hmm.
So, all of this is not new at all. The tactics to me are the same. A different candidate. Okay, well, they got to go with a different playbook.
Right.
So it's I can speak firsthand knowledge, but you got to be also careful and mindful of the tactics at the poll. People will give you disinformation at the poll. Mm-hmm. They will tell you can't vote for Marylin Pierre only. You have to vote for all four or whatever. And that's a lie. I'm just telling you right up straight, So if you want to single shoot her and vote for her only, you can.
And walk out.
Exactly right. Exactly right. You done your job. You know what I'm saying? So, don't be fooled by a whole lot of mess that's fed to you at the polls. And the other thing about it doesn't matter what race they are. I saw with my own eyes Black people passing out literature against me, and I'm the only Black candidate running for a circuit court judge at the time in 2016. So it doesn't matter what race you are. They can.
This is about people.
This is about people.
This is, I think people got to stop getting twisted over race and what it is, what it isn't. This is about people.
Yes.
Well, I think especially nowadays, because now the playbook, I think, has gotten even better in the sense that, yes, I learned a lot from you, Judge Barber. I learned a whole lot from you. And thank you very much for being such a great mentor to me. And thank you for continuing to mentor me. But I was listening to the radio today, and a very conservative Republican was talking about how he now can count on about 25% of the Black vote and about 30% of the Hispanic vote, because with the messages that they're giving. And part of that is because they have learned to craft a message to make it more palpable to the ministers. And so the ministers are talking about, we do have a lot in common. We don't agree with this either. We don't agree with that either. And of course, when that conversation gets started, it's a conversation about how we should exclude people. And so if you are into accepting people for who they are, and if you are into everybody's a human being and should have the same rights as everybody else, then that's considered, no, we don't really want everybody, because these people, they don't really count as much as us. It always reminds me of Animal Farm, with the pigs are like, all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. It's basically the argument that is now being fed to people. And some people of color are buying it. And so you can't just rely on this person looks like, they would be politically this way or that way.
Well, I'm glad we have our guests with us, but I also want to share with everyone that understanding what people are running for matters, because a lot of times you can't tell what people will stand for until they get into office. And then, one thing that one candidate said to me that turned me completely off, and he didn't even know he turned me off, is the fact, in fact, Dr. Dyer, you were there, and I think Marylin, Pierre, you were there at one of our statewide equity meetings. One of the candidates said, well, if you don't vote for me, you don't have any other choice.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was like, wow.
I was like, you underestimate me. I wouldn't vote for you at all. Don't assume that that's all I got left is you.
Right.
There's always the write-in.
No, right.
Even right. People forget that sometimes. You could always put in Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, or my favorite cartoon character, Daffy. Don't forget Daffy Duck. Well,
at the primaries, they don't give you write-in options, but they do at the general elections. I've seen. But I was highly annoyed by that, and I was highly annoyed by his stance on judicial elections, because there have been moves in the state legislature to eliminate contested judicial elections, which would keep the same judicial nominating commission process intact, where just the elite picking the elite, and then you just got a bunch of judges that don't care. Not all judges don't care, but there are some that are just elite, and they're arrogant. They could care less about the litigants. They're not fine-tuned about cases. They'd rather dismiss them and go on vacation. There's a lot to this whole judgeship thing, because they get terms of 15 years when it comes to the circuit court in all the counties in Maryland. So you're electing or choosing a judge, which is a powerful thing for voters. It's powerful to have in your hands the right and the opportunity and the vote to put a judge in office for 15 years.
So we some of us, and I'm very fortunate that we have able to talk with a lot of candidates that come on a national scale, that come through different counties. We've even had several statewide candidates and local meaning different counties, come on our show here, You Be the Judge. And before we get to our guests and Judge Claudia Barber, you were talking about judges, and then we know everyone's getting mailers, right? We know it. And I think the next show, we all got to bring in our mailers to the show, because it is absolutely fascinating how, if you could see this, maybe, anyway, I have this mailer the sitting judges go through a rigorous screening process with nonpartisan nominating commission. We don't believe that one. And then so they're all
okay here. So wait. Let me put my take on this, and let me insert my thoughts on that point. The nonpartisan are go through a rigorous vetting process by nonpartisan what?
Okay, so it says, okay, I'll read it again. Nonpartisan nominating commission.
That's a bunch of junk.
Right.
That is a bunch of junk.
Right, because
the governor appoints the commission members.
Correct.
On.
But most
not only that, but I think in Montgomery County, it might even be more insidious. Last time when I ran 2 years ago, I ran against 2 law partners of someone who I'm running against now. And she's got another law partner who's on the governor's commission. That appoints, that appointed these 2 people. And she'll say things like, well, but he wasn't in the room when the decision was made. And I'm like, oh, please, how old do you think we are? Just because he's not literally sitting in the room doesn't mean that he's not in the room.
And so here's the other thing about what media does. And I'm sorry, Sister Val, but it says Montgomery County.
And Sister Val is she's a JD, so she knows exactly what is going on. And Sister Val, whenever you feel like it, you could jump in as well.
So Montgomery County sitting judges are thoroughly vetted and highly qualified. The Washington Post agrees. The Washington Post opinion, sitting Maryland judges are for election. Voters should confirm them. So, and of course, all these clowns are on their own same page, right? And it's so we're in trouble, people who don't know how to read, don't know how to do their own research, or don't listen to us. Either one.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Some people who are saying the same thing that I'm saying, they took my how do you say it? Well, I've been saying that Maryland incarcerates a higher percentage of its young Black males than any other state in the country. I know you guys have heard it ad nauseum. But anyway, some people who are saying that are actually endorsing these people. They're listed, and I'm sitting there going, let me get this right. You're saying that, and it's because of the excessive sentences that the judges give them. Yet you're endorsing the same system to keep on going down the same track.
Well, the important thing about choosing judges is, what is it that they're bringing to the adjudication process, mindset wise? Because one of our guests beautifully articulated that there are judges with strong biases.
Yes.
And these are the people you should not be voting for. Not be voting for them. If they've got strong biases, they really don't belong in a robe and in a chair. And they probably did get there. And it's a lot of them that you can say did get there. But the problem is that you have to decipher, because there are also Black judges that are not good judges either.
Again, this is not about race. This is about people.
Yes.
We got to stop being confused on race. And so many, and we do this often. And I think it's a trauma-inflicted mentality. I really do. When you insert race as, we know it's a cause, we know it has validation, but it is not the excuse for or against. There has to be more.
I would agree with that. And so in addition to that, you have to be cautious of the information that the media feeds you. You can't rely on everything you read in the media. You can't even rely on everything you see in campaign flyers either as being the gospel truth, because oftentimes campaign literature spins things. And if they're
what about when they say fact? Well, what happens if they say fact and then they write their underscore what they said? You know what I mean? We have to be careful how people use words and how they place it almost like a puzzle. So you get to have the mindset that what they're saying is factual.
Right. But see, the unique thing about the judges race is that they can do a lot of harm because they are the ones that decide if police officers are being arrested, deciding whether or not they go to jail or don't go to jail. This is serious business here. And so if you have somebody with strong biases that genuinely believe that cops do no wrong, that's not a fair system. And that's why you often have disparity in sentencing.
Right.
Now see, my whole thing with this equity committee that they all of a sudden put together in the last year or so, as though the whole system was all right until
a year ago.
Yesteryear, yes, is the fact that what are you going to do about the disparate sentencing? It exists. Come on, the statistics are there. You have absolutely information in front of your face
so
that tells you that the sentencing is disparate.
And if you keep re-electing the same people,
system judges,
right, you're going to get the same results.
You're going to get the same results.
I'm almost at that point when I have a lot of, there's some good people who are running or want to be re-elected throughout the country, but I'm almost at the point where it says re-elect no one. Really? Because we keep having the same issues because we keep electing the same people and we keep thinking that they're going to change. So re-elect no one. If we go with that motto, you're done. One term, you're done. We move on. We just keep it moving.
Can I help you with that line? That's that re-elect no one but Marylin Pierre.
Well, she hasn't been elected to office yet, but I see also a comment in the chat that's relevant. It says we have how can you justify a process which has not chosen a Black male judge for office in Montgomery County for years?
Yeah, I think it's almost 8 years. Governor Hogan has never appointed a Black male judge in Montgomery County.
He hasn't done it in Anne Arundel.
The commission has never recommended a Black male judge in Montgomery.
That's terrible.
His commission has never recommended.
Isn't there one running? Isn't there a Black male running?
Yeah, there's one running. There are a couple who have applied. There's a district court judge, I think, who applied to become a circuit court judge, and there's an administrative.
Yeah, but is there one running in this race today, as in this, this month?
Yeah, in the circuit court race, there are 3 women who I guess would identify as Caucasian, and 1 man, I guess, who would identify as Hispanic on the slate. And then there's a Black man there's a man who I guess would identify as Black. And then there's me. So there's 6 people running for 4 positions.
Wow.
And like you said, people don't really have to vote for 4 people. They could just say, hey. But in terms of the appointment process, I cannot remember the last time a Black male was recommended for appointment.
That's terrible.
To the governor.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and and I go back again to saying even the Black women who have been appointed, only one of them has Black sons, and to me that makes a huge difference because I have Black sons and a daughter. And I noticed the way that society treat my sons as opposed to the way they treat my daughter. So
I want to get to our guests, and I
yes,
want to
let's
bring our
do
guests in.
that.
So Sister Val, you want to just introduce yourself, or Marylin, you want to do it for her, or what do you want to
Sister
do?
Val is very articulate and eloquent. She could do a much better job than I can. So Sister Val, the floor is yours. Thank you for your patience.
Good evening, and thank you all for making this space available every week. I'm sorry to say this is my first time in this space, but I can say it won't be my last.
Uh-oh.
I also thank you, Marylin, for inviting me here. I was just sitting and listening to the rich conversation. Let me just tell you first what I do and why I think I was invited here, and then I have a few thoughts, if that's all right. I live in Silver Spring, grew up here since the fourth grade, moved from DC, but was born in the Bronx, New York. And my parents, and I'm going somewhere, my father's a preacher. He's now, he passed away. And my mother's a teacher, but they're from Mississippi. And
Damn it, Judge Claude Barber. That FBI did to her again. It happens every time. If it wasn't for Judge Claudia Barber, we could be able to hear you, Sister Val.
okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now
Yes.
we can.
Okay,
First of all, here's a
told you my
disclaimer.
internet is
The
doing crazy.
FBI does not want Judge Claudia Barber to ever speak again. It's just true. She's on the watch list. We are always being followed because of her. So because you're on the show, just know it's because you're being watched by the FBI.
Well, it won't be the first time for my family, because as I was saying, I'm gonna get on my phone, so I'm gonna have backup Zoom. That's what I'm doing right here. So I can go between. FBI can't work on two presentations of Valarie, Denise, Island Davis. So how about
Then they put the NSA on us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which we do. We have that too.
So I was saying that my parents are from Mississippi, and they were contemporaries and advocates with Fannie Lou Hamer and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. And I don't just mean in the same age, I mean in their home. I mean,
That's all we needed to hear, MLK and Fannie Lou Hamer.
Right? Because when I come to this is, I was born with a DNA for justice, right? And so almost 2 years ago, similar to your timing with this space, 9 Black women got together in the pandemic, looking at the numbers. I think it was at that time around 3,500 a day of the number of Black people who were being infected and dying with COVID-19. And 9 of us got together and said, we have to do something. We don't know what it is, but we're going to figure it out, because this is not okay. So fast forward, we ended up asking ourselves the question, what's the Achilles heel of this? One of them, excuse my mute button, was that contact tracing wasn't being concluded when they had a case. So somebody in the, and then you would find out that even though people would be contacted to say they were infected, they were never brought completely to closure, right? With protecting their family. So we said, let's get into the contact tracing game and let's bring cultural competency to it. So we said, we're gonna do that, and we're gonna put Black and Afro-Latin women back to work, because we were the ones disproportionately out of work, unemployed, at home Zooming with kids. So it was a play on putting our sisters back to work in a place where we could save our own lives. So we decided to do that. Simultaneously, I was having this moment in my life where I was saying, what is wrong with me? Why do I feel so sluggish? Why can't I get anything done? Why do I cry every other day for apparently no reason in the pandemic? And I was talking to a friend of mine, Dr. Dyer, who is a psychologist in DC, and she said, what you're experiencing is grief. And I said, what? Because at that time, nobody in my family had died from COVID. So I'm thinking, grief, literal, simplistic version. And she said, no. There are different types of grief. And that's what the heaviness that you feel. That's the lethargy. That's the inability to get out of a fog. And so we started a webinar series called the Good Grief Series for Black folks. And we dealt with all the different aspects of loss, loss of freedom, loss of finance, loss of fellowship, and for some of us, even loss of faith. And that conversation, it was nationwide. People were just dialing in and we were talking about what's happening to us. Like, let's just talk about it. But then let's figure out what is it doing to us to go through that. And then importantly, to your point about action, acknowledge that it's happening, assess, and then address it. What are we going to do about it? So we always left people with what we call right now relevant resources. You never left a conversation without something you had in your hand to make yourself better. And then people said, okay, the series is over. What are we doing next? We're like, we don't have any plans to do anything next. We're just two Black women who threw together, some Zoom webinars. They said no. So that turned into Being Well While Black, because then George Floyd was murdered. Then it kept on going, Breonna Taylor et al. And we said, we're going to take a play on that, Being Well While Black, and create this permanent space where we advance our own well-being. And that is eventually led to a whole bunch of conversations internationally, Mexico, UK, Haiti, all over the place. But then we said, wait a minute, we keep talking, but what is we gonna do? We knew the election was coming. And we said, wait a minute, what are we gonna do about this? Do we understand what's happening? And we decided to take Queen Stacey Abrams' book, Leading from the Outside, and we read through it chapter by chapter as a group. It's a workbook. If you don't have it, get it. All leading to our taking on a project called the Black Voter Guide. And it relates to Elevate. So this is Being Well While Black over here. This is Elevate Her up here. And we brought the Being Well While Black under Elevate Her, which was always about wellness. And it's a 501c3. It's all about being structured to be successful. We needed a structure to be able to raise funds, attract volunteers, blah, blah, blah. And so the Black Voter Guide is the first guide that we know of its kind that reflects questions from our own communities, local communities. We got a DC team, Prince George's County team, Montgomery County team. Questions we came up with by surveys and community conversations that we put before every single candidate who wants our vote. Every single one had the opportunity to respond. And that turned into a guide that we launched our DC guide. The Montgomery County and Prince George's County versions come out this week. And what we want people to do is vote, and vote smart. Don't just vote based on the sign that's in your neighbor's yard or at the corner of the major intersection. Don't just vote, even because Marylin said vote for her. Figure out
that's going too far.
No, you on the team. Marylin knows about this. We want you to vote because you figured out what your issues are. You took the time to read and ask questions. You understand what that position does. And you said, now you've earned my vote. Or you haven't. To your point, if I don't have to fill in all those bubbles just because they're on the page. If no one's worth voting for, then no one's worth voting for. And then you have to figure out, well, how do I do something about that? Right? Mm-hmm. Because when you don't vote, your vote is counted with the majority, right? So this is where because this is not about, we crafted a project that people could get their minds around. There's too much going on to say, do this, do that, read about this, be concerned about that. We are traumatized people. People who are experiencing trauma do not typically take on new things. They don't add to their trauma a whole host of knowledge they have to absorb. So what could we put in a box? And what we put in the box was the concept that the only place on the planet, faith aside, where we are all equal is at the ballot box. Only place. Now, that's if you can make it there, but that's a separate issue. Not in your school, not even in your church are you equal if they posting who gave tithes and offerings. Not anywhere. Only at the ballot box is my vote equal to the people on Capitol Hill. That's it. So if what we care about is being able to wield power, then there are only two sources of power that anybody in power cares about: money and votes. That's it. They don't care about your tears. They don't care about your data. They don't care about your children. Do you have a vote to give me? And is there money associated with what you do? And that's the focus here, is to simplify in real honest terms how this all works. And then to engage people of all ages, all points of view.
Val, you also we got you blocked again.
Right. So
there it is.
We need to understand we are at the bottom of every social determinant of health. The bottom. The bottom. That means below everybody else, even those who have not been in this country as long as we have.
Your mute button again. Your mute button again.
Even in wealthy,
why does your sorry, hold on just 1 second. Why does your mute button keep going on and turning?
Because the FBI is messing with me. No, I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. I told y'all before we started, Zoom has been acting a fool all day.
Oh, interesting. I've never seen that before. But
me either. So I'm just going to keep working on it. So my point is this. People need simplicity when they're traumatized. Not more. Well,
the thing is, though, when you get to the polls, now there are a lot of methods of voting that didn't happen years ago, because I distinctly remember that the only way in Maryland you could vote is to, unless you cast an absentee ballot, you had to go out and get in your car, whatever, and go to the voting poll and cast your vote, cast your ballot, and vote in person. All of this in-person stuff was real back then. And this was the opportunity that candidates had to pass out their literature, introduce themselves. If a split second, they got 30 seconds to share with somebody who they are and why they should, you should vote for them. So that's not a lot of time. But the candidates also have to be strategic in that they have to have people in their campaign at all these polls that to greet voters that are undecided or have never heard of them before, and share with them reasons why they should be chosen over another candidate.
Which is why we, as the Caucus of African American Leaders, and we partnership up with other people, we started this Black Action Convention here at Morgan State that's happening this Friday and Saturday, starting at 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Just what Sister Val was talking about is putting together a guide, a conversation, so we can put policy in front of candidates to say, this is what we are looking for and stand for. This is what we see in our communities, and this is what's not been happening. And that's why we put together this forum. This forum has never been done before. Even in Gary, Indiana, in the 60s, it was more about a collaboration. But this is more about building policy. We're not writing the policy as individuals. We're writing a policy as a group of people. And I think that's important too. There you go. Speak on one, view on the other. We got you.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, FBI, run and tell that. Anyway. Okay, so I'm going to throw a few challenging notions out there. One is, and I had this conversation today with an organization called Black Women for Positive Change. They used to be Black Women for Obama, then they became they expanded to the next election. It's an informal group, but very, very influential in the Obama campaign. I just ran across them in doing this work. And we had this conversation today about how they're launching a podcast this week, really focused on midterm elections matter, right? And they've been nationwide launching what they're called votercades, where they organize in local areas, people to literally get in their cars, drive throughout neighborhoods on bullhorns, talk about and lead people to the polls, right? And then they have another project that's 11 years old that talks about stopping violence in Black communities. And I'm in this meeting and I'm listening to what they're saying. And I let the meeting, end. And then I said, let me have a sidebar with you tomorrow. And this was what we had this morning. And I said two things. Have you noticed in the campaigns that you all are paying attention to all around the country, whether or not Black-led organizations are being asked for their endorsements? And they looked at me like, well, what difference does that make? I said, look, you only ask for an endorsement if you think a group or an individual is influential.
That's right.
And I would like for you all, go look at the literature.
Yeah.
Go look at the emails that you get, listen to the commercials of the people who want your vote, who have endorsements, and you will find out who they think is important. And in Montgomery County, with the exception of a group called Ike Leggett and his wife individually, we are not being asked.
At all.
And the reason we're not being asked is because we are considered largely irrelevant.
Correct.
And because we're not organized to be asked, because we swallowed the Kool-Aid about becoming a 501c3. And what that does is it prevents you from endorsing
candidates.
Right. And taking
actually, it's kind of interesting that you say that, because the last time I looked at we're back to the judges again, sorry. The last time that I looked at the judges' literature, there were 2 bar associations that had their names on there as endorsing them. And that was my question. I'm like, aren't you a 501c3? Sorry, 501c3, because I did not. I mean, they could also be a 501c4, but
right, they could also be a 7.
I'm not sure that
they're
they are.
So
I thought that was quite interesting.
Oh no, if they're a bar association, they're probably a 7, and they're like a sorority, fraternity, the links, you know,
exactly.
whatever, a membership-based.
They're not allowed, but yes,
right.
Here they are.
So that's the first thing. Have we become irrelevant to those who are seeking power? And the ultimate example of that is, did they ask us to endorse them? A, no. And then I said, B, are we even positioned to be asked?
No.
So that led me to my second point to them. I said, why is it that when I have off the record private conversations with people who already have these offices, I won't name them, but they are the leaders across our county. And I say, why is it that the Black fill in the blank project isn't getting as much as support as the non-blank fill in the blank project? And what I get is these off the record mumbling conversations that you all are disorganized and not unified. It's just too hard. It's just too hard to deal with you. That's what they mean, that thing.
Yes.
So I'm not pushing back on anything anybody's doing. I'm just saying the fractured nature of what we do, and that I got this over here, you got that over there, and so-and-so's got over there. It does not amass power. No. And they don't have to pay attention to us. Even if we put together a cogent, well-researched policy platform or position, they know that represents 17 people on a good day. So the question is, you should understand how power works, and are we willing to go get it because we amass some? And I say we're not. We're not.
Well, to add to that issue, you have also in some public housing communities, many candidates see public housing communities as areas where people don't vote. They don't come out to vote. Sometimes it might be a transportation issue, but it doesn't stop us from educating them, because they have the, you know, if you have mail-in voting, as we do this particular season, you know, they had an opportunity to cast a vote without leaving their home and being concerned with, you know, standing in some long line and whatnot. But yes, I understand what you're saying about the fact that we've got to come with a mass where they would want our endorsement. So
Bernadette, go ahead.
Yeah, can I quickly interject? Just a few questions, and I know we're heading towards the 7 p.m. hour. But well, first of all, thanks, Valarie, for your presentation so far. This is a genuine question. Can African Americans make common cause with existing progressive organizations, and then tie it in with what Judge Barber just said, and focus on voter turnout? And I'm asking about this because to me, it sounds like a convenient excuse for lawmakers to say, oh, African Americans or Black people, they're not organized. It's hard, you know, No, I mean, Maryland, the state of Maryland is what, 30% African-American, over 30% African-American.
Right.
African-Americans built this state. There is, I think that, you know, going back to your point about votes, if we worked on voter turnout, so that we come with the stats about how we come out to vote, and also make common cause with existing progressive or that would have positions that would align with the best interests of African Americans. Could that be something to focus on?
Bernadette, I am so super excited about you being a judge. Every week we have some amazing, brilliant people.
Yeah.
It's just you
do.
We just do. So here's
Bernadette, you're one of them.
but to answer your question, Bernadette, we could, but statistically, we don't show up at the polls. So as we are trying to push this midterm election or any election, and I've been doing elections and stuff for candidates for a while, and it's disturbing to knock on a person's door of color the day of voting, right? And they are like, voting for who? What do you mean today? It's election day, right? Even we're talking about general elections, and they have no idea that they're like, what does it matter? And I don't have at November 5th, I don't have time to discuss why it matters at your door, because I'm about ready to pull my head out and I just want to get to more people. But I do, and I have gone back to people's homes on November 7th and say, do you remember me? And they're like, yeah. I say, I was here 2 days ago. Now let's talk about why you didn't vote, because I'm confused, and you need to educate me why you would not take your black ass down to the poll and to put something into a ballot box that so many people have flipped and died for just because you don't feel like your voice matters. I'm kind of pissed off. And to give me that lame ass excuse over and over again, well, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter, then they wouldn't be doing what they have been doing for centuries to keep you out of the polls. So explain to me why you're not voting.
Can I explain it to you?
Yeah.
I'm explaining it to you, but Bernadette, let me just say this. People only want to align with us if we have power.
Yeah.
That's a simple answer. Right. We can want to align all day long, but why should they?
Okay, we have to come up with reasons, yes.
Right? Just because we have some numbers, which we are no longer the largest so-called minority in the state, in a minute. Why would they? What reason have we given? What result have we caused? And they don't want to go back to NAACP. Some people don't even know what that stands for. Anymore. Don't even understand what it did, Supreme Court, Brown, any of it, right? They're just like, what are you doing now that makes it worth our associating with you, right? And not to mention the fact that you all don't even associate with each other. So that's my answer to what you're saying is, when we give people a reason to want to align with us, they might actually do it, but right now, no. So let me answer your question, Dr. Dyer. There are 3 levels on which you're asking people to engage. Mm-hmm. When it comes to voting, we're asking people to engage as individuals in something they have to see value in. But you are analyzing it at a collective level in terms of the potential impact. Okay. But there's a gap between what matters to me, what I see, how it shows up in my house, on my table, in my paycheck, in my mental health, and what you want from me collectively. Then there's this 3rd level, which is more global, where you see even those who have fought, died, still standing in the gap, can't make it happen. Congress, Black Caucus, UN, NATO, whoever you want to point a finger at, like even those who seem to want to advance things that might help me at the communal level and the individual, they can't get it done.
Right.
They got the money, the power, the platform, the education, the nanny, the private school, the tickety tock, tock, tock. So when you're standing at that door and you're asking for something for someone that doesn't see how it pays off at any level, why should they? On paper, it doesn't make sense.
A perfect example of what you're saying. We have to make
it make sense, because what I say to people is this: tell me the thing that you care about. Just tell me what it is. I was at Blair High School, and then three things they cared about most: children who were old enough to register to vote, because you can do that when you're 16, I believe, and you do your little driver's license. I say we need to make Sweet 16 not about a party, but getting that little card that says you pre-registered to vote. Let's do that. I said, what do you all care about? They said, number one, for those of us who are first generation immigrants, we need resources that our families can have to survive. Mm-hmm. And we need to stop being relied on to be the translators. We're trying to pass school, but we're out here trying to get this and that and the other. Can our elected officials please just help us survive? I'm talking about Black students, okay? Right. Second thing they said was, school lunch is awful. It's awful, it's nasty. We don't want it. We feel like we're being, thrown away stuff. Fix that. And then the third thing they said was, help us figure out how this stuff works, like trying to go to college. You think we know. We don't even understand what the counselors are talking about, because we got to do these 7, 8 classes, and then we get 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes to figure out the rest of our life. We don't understand. Can we get more people, and can we have relationships with people in the school so they can help us? If those three things matter to them, I tied a knot between each one of those and the ballot box. I said, who do you think decides school lunches? Well, the federal government. I said, well, come down from that. The FDA might say what foods can go in it, but I said, come down. Who do you think decides what goes into school lunches? Well, somebody's got to pay for it. Okay, so who decides whether lunch is free? Right. I don't know. So if you want to make something happen, let me just explain to you. The people that you elect to the county council, who set the budget, the people who you elect at the state level, who can advocate for lunch to continue to be free after the pandemic is over, those are two different levels of things. Yeah. Your vote matters, because those people are going to, my point is this: if you don't try stuff that what matters to people, you can forget about it. Mm-hmm. It's basic marketing.
Right. Well, right. I think that you said so much. You really have said a lot that's relevant. I think, however, as we approach the dates when we go to the polls, and early voting opens up this week tomorrow. So it's incumbent upon us to again stay focused and not lose sight of the fact that you have a golden opportunity, one whole solid week, to go to the polls, to educate yourself and go to the poll. Now, the final primary day is July 19th. Right. So that is the day, that is the last day that you will have an opportunity to vote for your candidate for governor, your candidate for attorney general, your candidate for a whole lot of offices that influence and impact what these children were sharing. You raised the point about the fact that even people in power, they couldn't even pass the police act that I call it the George Floyd Act. They couldn't get that thing passed. They couldn't even get the voting rights legislation passed. Right. And that is turning me off to a whole bunch of senators.
Which makes Val's point, because if they can't do it at the top, what makes them think that they can do it down here where it matters to me so directly? And so, Val, I'm upset that this is your first time on the show. I'm a little bit confused. I don't know if I should blame Marylin or somebody's got to get blamed. But here's the other thing. I got this in the mail, and it says Montgomery County, Maryland, and this is a homeowner referral guidebook, right? Now, I'm sure every county has a referral guidebook in their county. Now, I didn't look through it because I could care less about pest control and things like that and handy contracts. But we could put this type of guide out for every county that's candidates, who's in office, what they do, how they do it. But they don't want you to know what they do, what they don't do, and who's doing it, because they want to keep you ignorant. But they'll send this free book to you. Well, it's not free, it's tax, but they'll send about a handyman contractor and how it's been vetted by Montgomery County and excellence. So you can see their priorities. Val was talking about. They only view you as they don't view you as anything except for what you can give to them.
Consumer.
As a consumer. Thank you, Mark. So, wow. We're coming up on the 7:00 hour, and we only have one more show before July 19th. I thought maybe it was 2, but I had to look at the calendar. We only have next week. And then the 19th is right there for the midterm election. We will continue to hammer out some of these candidates. We're going to talk about more candidates next week in Montgomery County, and candidates maybe you want to talk about nationally, statewide. Bring your list, bring your flyers, bring your questions, because we really do. And maybe we'll just extend the show a little bit, whoever can stay on, because there's going to be a lot of answers and a lot of why we feel and what we think, and we'll go from there.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Vivian Scretchen, and Marylin invited me.
Oh, welcome, Vivian.
I ran in 2010 for the state delegate. I just wanted to share with you all that we need to find a different way to reach the people. You saying do a guide, but people are looking at TikTok or, social media. And I just think that we have to break stuff down. Like, they may not know what the county executive does and how meaningful that position is for them to be able to go out and vote for them. People don't know that. Your average Black person, they don't know it, and I just wanted to share that with you, because I know, I live in the community and I see that they don't know. And it's like, how can we reach them? We're not going to reach them by giving them books to read.
I remember when I ran for office, I was actually tutored by someone who shared with me to do a Facebook Live presentation.
Mhm.
And sometimes the presentation was the top 10 reasons why you should vote for me. And that's a Facebook Live presentation. That's a connecting way to get to the people that are watching Facebook all the time.
Right.
So there are options out there, but we've got to expand our knowledge so that we can have greater reach. Because it's nothing wrong with having a green book. It's nothing wrong with having a Black voters guide. They have a League of Women voters guide, and it's in the library. What's wrong with a Black voters guide in the library?
Marylin, is there any questions that I did not see in the chat that you want to read real quick before we take off? I know people who give their time to our show. I want to see some of hear those questions.
Can we have the email address? I'm sorry, the website for the Black Voters Guide one more time.
I just put in the chat, the Linktree link will get you to everything.
Okay.
And all you have to do is just fill out the form for the Black Voters Guide. All it's asking you for is your email address so we can send it to you directly.
Okay.
But
Very
this is a good, get our free Black Health Facts app on your phone. It's by Let's All Do Good. Anybody who wants an app, you can do one for $99. I agree with you. We need different ways. We need to be on Clubhouse live with this, right?
Okay.
If that's where the folks are, let's simultaneously do YouTube, Clubhouse, Instagram, all of it.
Well, it does go out simultaneously on those three, but not Clubhouse. I will work on that to get us on the Clubhouse to show. But Marylin, we want to read some of the questions?
Evangelist Minder wanted to find out what is Elevate Her.
Short answer is we are a community health, not 501c3 nonprofit run by Black women, and we train and deploy Black and Afro-Latin women in our communities to do community health work. We started with COVID-19 response. We just launched our first Black women's wellness and diabetes prevention program that was free, and we're moving on from there. So that's what we do.
Okay, and Holly Joseph wanted to know, why does a group need to be asked? Why doesn't a group, I guess, just endorse? And also, she also wanted to know, are you endorsing?
I cannot endorse because we formed 2 years ago as a 501c3. I can individually endorse, absolutely. And my conversation with Black Women for Positive Change was that we are working toward a 501c4
Yes.
for January, and we are going to invite as many grassroots and nationally recognized Black-led organizations to be part of it. That's going to happen, right? And no, you don't have to wait to be asked, but you need to be in a position to be asked, and it has to matter to people, right? They have to know that you are an influencer. If you're not an influencer, they might even want your endorsement because they're like, who do you influence? What is that about?
And thank you for that, Val. Evangelist Minor also wanted to point out that not voting is a learned behavior. So how do some of us unlearn that behavior?
Like everything else, we teach our children certain things from birth. There are people who teach their children how to run businesses, master financial markets, and understand the political system from when they're 2 years old. It's a decision. It's a decision. There's no lack of information. It's a matter of prioritization. So while we're flitting off to, the beach and the pool and the whatever else this summer, those are decisions.
Mm-hmm.
We have to make a decision to prioritize, to make the first thing the first thing.
That's
and
right.
If you intend for the world, for our children, whether you have them or not, our descendants to be better than the one we're living in, sometimes you have to put that money somewhere else, that time somewhere else, that energy somewhere else that's not popular. It's not cute. Yes, you have to sit down with a guide and read.
Mm-hmm.
Or not.
Well, we
Sometimes
certainly do hope you vote. We certainly do hope you vote.
And I don't mean you specifically. I'm talking about Black folks in general.
I know.
Even in our trauma, trauma. And when you get tired, I just want you to think of one person that everybody knows, Harriet Tubman. When you get tired, ask Harriet what she thinks.
Mm-hmm.
She kept going.
Kept going.
I have a question.
Yes,
Zanita has a question. Go ahead, Zanita.
Is it too late to convey to people that these next two, this 2022 election and 2024, are the most important and consequential elections ever, I feel, in the United States, the history of the United States, because our very way of life is at stake here. And so is fear something that people understand? I don't know.
It's never too late. And that's the thing. I don't want anyone to ever think that it's over. And it kind of goes back to what Sister Val was talking about, what Harriet Tubman would say. If you're tired, get untired. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to tell you this so succinctly, so emphatically. Don't get tired, because I'm telling you now, I've been in situations, in combat situations, where tired was not an option. It was not an option, because if you are tired and you lay down, you're not coming home. And a body bag, you're coming home. So, and I don't want you to be so intense about, but this is life or death. So you have to either choose life, and if you choose life, then you must do. You got to do. I don't care how tired you are, how worried you are, or how confused you are. Ask for help, get help, seek help. We're here to help you. That's why we did this show. That's why we do all things we do, is for someone to say, hey, I heard you in the distance, and they reach out and we grab you and say, come on, brother and sister, let's do this. We got this. So it's never too late.
But I'm going to give one caveat to that.
Yeah.
It will be too late if we, back to where the conversation started, if we do two things, if we fail to do two things, if we fail to command the media.
Yeah.
Because the media runs faster than our mouths and a weekly show. Number one, we must run our own media and control our own narrative. And we have stations available to us, but are they doing that for our benefit? They're taking money from people and they're beholden to put commercials on, et cetera. We need to own our own media. Number two, And we can do it because
we can do it.
LeBron just needs a phone call, right? Number two, if we fail to help our young people understand that the arc of time and change is long, we have helped them to be trained to understand and prefer the instant. Nothing is going to happen instantly. What's happening today was planned over 50 years ago when I'm talking about Roe v. Wade.
Yep.
If we fail to, we give, internet, go on the phone, you got it, let's go to get some ice cream. The arc of change is long and you got to be in it like Harriet. If we fail to teach our children that everything's not add water and stir, it will be too late.
You know, most people don't. I want to ask people this question. I got some amazing people here. But Roe v. Wade was started because of a rape accusation. Most people don't know that. A white woman accused a black man of rape. And that's how this all started. So there is 50 years of ideology behind things that are being done that is coming to fruition today that has been set in motion 50 years ago, 60 years ago. When the Civil Rights Bill got passed, they were like, okay, hell no. This is what we're going it was, so things are not just happening, it's happening. And there's a difference.
So can I give you one action item and shut up?
Yeah, and we're going to close up. We're going to at least close up live anyway.
Right. So everybody on here is going to something this summer, right? Some family something, some barbecue, some yeah, you are. Barbershop, keeping it clean. You going somewhere, make a decision to have a courageous conversation like this. Cause it by asking questions, not making statements.
I do it all the time.
Right. But the average person doesn't. Like it takes courage to go into the salon and say, girl, what you think about?
Yep.
Intentionally.
Yep.
Because everybody doesn't have the technology, the wherewithal, the privilege to sit on a Zoom at 6 o'clock on a weeknight. They might be working a third job.
Yeah.
But wherever you go, on the cruise, at the wedding, cause the conversation courageously at the right moment by asking a question, just starting the conversation.
Thank you everyone for listening to Bridges Live. You be the judge. Every Wednesday at 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. We will see you next week. Same back channel, same time. Thank you, and everyone have a blessed evening.